What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about SoFi. I want to give you a quick overview of what happened today, what big money did, as well as short. So I want to go over all the things that you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So SoFi went down 0.97%, 27.14 the high, 26.54 the low, and another day of very low volume. So 28.3 million shares being traded. Of that, most came from algorithmic trading. So you can kind of see from the flow right there, a lot of smaller transactions. So that is primarily algorithmic trading. And that in reality has been a bigger issue for SoFi for the last, I'd say, 2 weeks, give or take. Whereas in the past, we always had big money willing to buy the SoFi dip. And lately, that hasn't really occurred. So I'll kind of break it down on potentially why. But today, the big thing for data points was the FOMC minutes. So early this morning, we did have Chicago PMI, came in at 43.5, forecast of 39. In general, that's good, but the market didn't really seem to care too much about that. So I think a lot of pre-existing fear that was prompted from yesterday rolled over into today, as well as just a lot of uncertainty associated to the FOMC minutes. And kind of rightfully so, because the minutes actually showed that the Feds have no idea what the hell they're doing, in my opinion, of course, but ultimately, it showed that even for the December cut, there was no 100% consensus towards that. Going forward, they surprisingly said that they're going to be determining future cuts on inflation, not on key labor data as well as housing, which was previously stated by Powell. So that definitely was a surprise. And I think it took the market a little bit to actually digest and break it apart to determine that wasn't good. And the market, I think overall, there's been a lot of kind of sketchy things coming up, whether that be Iran or linked to silver. And the market doesn't like sketchy, doesn't like uncertainty. It likes just clear cut what is happening. And the market really wants a January cut. And unfortunately, it looks as though that we won't be really getting that. So I think in reality, a lot of pre-existing fear from yesterday, and as well as just the market just not getting a January cut most likely. Still, we have a solid month of data from now until then to hopefully change things around. But I think clearly we need inflationary data now to be bad, not just labor and housing. So something to keep in mind. Today for SoFi, there was no SEC filings, no press releases, nothing like that. There was a couple of things posted online. So SoFi, the official kind of page, did post this saying that our members asked and we listened. Moving money between your SoFi Invest and SoFi checking and savings accounts got a serious upgrade. The old way, waiting between 1 and 3 business days. The new way is instant transfers. I myself, I don't have SoFi because unfortunately SoFi hasn't come up north to Canada just yet. But I surprisingly thought that this was already a thing. I thought that they had instant transfers. So I guess when a lot of the bears complained about this type of stuff, I guess they actually had a valid point because again, up north, this is pretty standard stuff to have instant transfers, and it has been for a while now. So good to see SoFi at least getting with the times for this. Clearly goes to show that they were lagging in some capacity for that, but still good to see that they are actually listening to its members and making the necessary changes. Only other thing I wanted to kind of bring up was this right here. Was posted originally by Marcel, just saying payment companies with key stablecoin offerings announced in 2025, and just asking who's missing. Good old Anthony just said SoFi USD. So yeah, when it comes down to SoFi, they're going 100% all in on crypto starting 2026. So 2026 is going to be huge for SoFi. And so yeah, I think in general, good stuff, and good to see Anthony being very engaging. This is something I think I kind of wanted him to do at the beginning part of 2025. He was more focused on lacrosse. Lately, he must have listened to some constructive feedback from some individuals, and he's starting to engage more with individuals. And yeah, honestly, I think Anthony is the right CEO for SoFi to really propel it to the kind of the next leg up. And clearly cryptocurrency is the way to go. So let me know your viewpoint on that. But aside from that though, it's pretty quiet. So tomorrow is a regular day, but Thursday the market's closed. So you might see some abnormal transactions occurring both on the secondary market and also the dark pool, as kind of institutions will be rebalancing. Today, like I said, we didn't really see that crazy of transactions. So 36.6 million, 5.07, 4.9. This, although, is why I like to look at a lot of this type of data, because even though it was kind of more of a quieter day, we did see a lot of actual buying. So anything right here with a ask is a buy. This is why sometimes it's very misleading. Someone will see this type of price action and assume that institutions are selling. But if you actually look at this, institutions did buy, just again, not to the same magnitude as what they normally have, but big money was obviously buying SoFi. Just the biggest and strongest force out there is algorithmic trading. So hopefully the SEC does something, because retail, even going against institutions, retail had no hope. And it looks as though even with institutions buying, they have no hope in kind of doing what they want to a stock price to really move it higher. Algos, whatever the hell they want by market makers, like, it happens. So again, just so you're aware, big money technically did buy, just clearly didn't really influence the price all that much. But these are some of the transactions that did occur on the dark pool. So dark pool 15.1, that was the large one for today, 3.4, 1.8. So kind of quiet stuff in reality, similar to yesterday. Aside from that though, looking at shorts increased 245,000 shares, 9.5% of the free floats being shorted, works to be 118 million shares overall being shorted. Cost to borrow average kind of staying where it has been, 0.57. DTC still inching up, but that is because of the lower volume. So DTC does factor in the average volume in comparison to number of shares being shorted. So it's actually just SoFi's average volume going down. This is why this is kind of moving higher. So somewhat, again, misleading. All of this is just metrics and ratios behind the scenes. But still, you see some signs of naked shorting. So shares on loan being 111 and 118 is being shorted. So definitely some sketchy stuff is still happening. Looking at the options, we had 26 million in calls, 7.8 in puts. So matching with the overall common stock, so fairly low volume. And then 42% of all the options being done today were bullish in nature. So definitely good to see for that. From a bull standpoint, you see a consensus for it to be roughly around 27.50 to 28. So optimism has definitely gone down quite a lot. Bears are anticipating for it to be sub kind of 26.50 to 27. So there's definitely, based on this, more upside anticipated from all of that. But aside from that, with it closing at 26.56, it is trading between these 2 points, so this S2 and this S3. So it is really starting to break down based on the technicals. Tomorrow is going to be a very big day from that, which I'll kind of talk on in a second. But 26.68 is going to be that key point to really get over tomorrow. And then 26.37 is going to be that strong support, which wasn't tested whatsoever today. Tomorrow, for data points, we don't really have that much on an FYI. We just have initial jobless claims. And now, based on what the Feds clearly said in the minutes, we have to worry about now labor kind of key data, housing, which again, mortgage applications, mortgage market index, that's going to be coming out as well first thing. And then now inflationary data. So it's going to be a fun time. So every data point pretty much going forward has a opportunity to really impact the market in a somewhat negative way. Aside from that though, on the actual chart itself, it's not looking too good. I wouldn't say it's time to panic just yet, but today it did break below that 10-day moving average. So signaling that's kind of losing a little bit of momentum. It's happened in the past, and this is where I guess big money really is sitting on the sidelines waiting to swoop in and kind of buy SoFi. Happened numerous times where it has a nice V-shaped recovery. SoFi seems to be a one-off when this happens, but today it did break below that 10-day moving average, so not necessarily the best. Stochastic RSI is at 71, so arguably considered overbought. As I mentioned, most volume did come from algos today. Market position, you see, comparing yesterday and today, a little bit more willing kind of sellers around that $27 range and a little bit more willing buyers at the 26. So you could be seeing it kind of trade within that range between 26 and 27 for that. No new analyst ratings. So last one did come out December the 23rd. That was from Needham, $36 price target. So all in all, SoFi was just piggybacking off of the broader market. Let me know your general thoughts on SoFi. Did you buy? Are you selling? Like, what's your kind of general thoughts on everything that has been happening? There's quite a few different moving parts that's happening on a larger scope that I feel, like I said, kind of adds a certain level of uncertainty. So hopefully we have a solid day tomorrow. That way we can go into 2026 with hopefully continued good momentum. So let me know your viewpoint. One final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you're looking for some solid on point buy signals on stocks, options, crypto. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.